Don't call me Mom. From now on, don't step in here again. Marlene Pierce, my mother, said it right outside the Cumberland ballroom. Inside, my dad held the microphone. My younger sister, in a tight evening gown, lifted her glass like the lady of the house, both of them looking down at me like they were waiting for me to slip. And I had just gotten off my shift, still in my work clothes, holding a gift box I bought with my own money. I glanced at the head table, name cards lined up neatly, and mine wasn't there. My seat was by the service aisle, pushed off to the side like something that needed to stay out of the frame. But what made my spine go cold wasn't the seating. It was the stack of papers already opened on the head table, clipped to the exact page with my name in bold, and right underneath was a line I was never supposed to be allowed to see. I swallowed hard and wondered, what are they planning to take from me tonight, this time? And that's the story of Natalie Pierce. Some families don't need to trip you. They just need the whole room to look at you, then write you into the role of the one at fault. If your name gets erased in front of hundreds of people, what do you do so you don't get defined by them? And I'm Stella. Before I tell Natalie's story, let me ask you, where are you listening from, and what time is it where you are right now? Comment and tell me. If you've ever been pushed to the edge, just so someone else could keep the image, hit like, subscribe, and stay to the end. Because this time, Natalie doesn't argue face to face. She changes the playing field. And everything starts with that strange line. I stepped over the threshold. The blast of air conditioning hit my face. The soft clink of glasses sounded like a starting signal. On the stage, Dad held the mic. Paige stood close beside him, her dress catching the light, lifting her glass on cue. They didn't even have to look at each other, but they still matched, like they'd rehearsed. The gift box in my hands was slightly crushed. The head table was a straight row of name cards, with a blank spot exactly where mine should have been. The seat meant for me sat by the service aisle, out of the bright zone, visible enough to be seen and easy enough to be ignored. I pulled out the chair. The scrape of the chair legs on the floor made a few people glance over. Paige smiled thinly. Mom walked up and set her hand on my shoulder, like she was adjusting my coat, when she was really nudging me a little farther, just out of the phone camera angle pointed at the head table. On the head table was a thick clipped stack of papers, already open like it was waiting to be read. Dad tapped the edge of it. My eyes caught the page with my name in bold. Right underneath was that strange line, placed in a spot that couldn't be accidental. I didn't stand up. I just looked up and asked, clear enough, who put this packet together? If it were you, would you stand up and walk out right away, or sit for one more minute to hear what they say? Comment 1 or 2 for me. The mic in Dad's hand stalled for a beat. Mom switched her tone immediately, still smiling. Don't make a big thing out of this here. Her smile didn't change, only her hand tightened slightly, like a reminder that I was standing in front of other people. Dad tightened his grip on the mic. Paige held her glass, her lips curved thin. I didn't argue. I just stood up, hugged the gift box, and walked straight out. As soon as I sat in my car, my phone buzzed nonstop. Mom's text popped up first. Don't embarrass the family. Right after that came an email from Dad with a dry subject line. Official notice. I didn't open it. I just took a screenshot and muted my phone. Paige posted faster than both of them. A photo of her standing beside Dad under the lights, a caption about boundaries and protecting peace. Enough for outsiders to automatically stitch me into the role of the troublemaker. Has anyone ever been labeled by one post like that? If you've been through it, drop a dot or an emoji so I know you're here. The next morning, the second I walked into the hospital, before my badge even touched the scanner, my supervisor called me into a small room at the end of the hallway. There was a complaint call about you, she said quietly, her eyes flicking past my shoulder. When I left the room, I opened my notes and typed exactly 4 lines. Time, text, email, post. My phone stayed silent in my coat pocket. If anyone wanted to say something, let them leave a trace. By noon, security called me. There was an express envelope for me. My name was printed on it, in lettering that looked like a law office. Inside was a request to confirm/correct, polite wording but vague in a dangerous way. Every line felt like it was pushing me to write my own confession. At the bottom, there was a blank line. I confirm I understand and agree. I set the paper down, photographed every page, saved it into a private folder. Then I typed one short line to myself. Don't answer with emotion. Answer with procedure. If you believe staying calm is a form of self-protection, tap like for me. That request to confirm/correct was still on my kitchen table when I got back to my apartment. I didn't sign, Didn't cross anything out, didn't add a single word. I just set it beside my laptop, pulled open a drawer, and took out an old box of papers, stuff I'd kept for years out of habit. The lid popped open, thin sheets stacked together, utility bills, car repairs, a restaurant late fee for booking a party too close to the deadline, a few small payments, but always right on time, right when the Pierces needed everything to look perfect to outsiders. One receipt made my hand stop. Last year's club fundraiser. Mom's card got declined at the counter while Dad stood on stage talking about being a model family. Under the table, a phone opened, money transferred, nobody saw. Back home, it was treated like it never happened. The rest had the same rhythm. A bill for the heating system repair at Cumberland, the contact name not mine but the confirmation emails landing in my inbox because you handle it faster. A registration fee for some community event Paige wanted to show up at. You sound trustworthy. You take care of it for me. Each sentence sounded soft, but together they built one role, the fixer. A short memory flashed, Paige in the kitchen, touching up her lipstick, saying like it was nothing. You're better at this stuff. Back then I forced a smile, thinking it was a joke. Now it sounded like casting. Me in the back, her in the front. I opened my laptop again. I filtered my inbox by the name of the community organization that had shown up on that packet last night. An old email surfaced with an overly familiar subject line. Sis, please save me. Paige asking me to be the contact with the sponsor because you sound trustworthy, they'll listen. The attachment was a pre-written template with a note. Just send it exactly like this. My throat went dry. Last night, my name wasn't on the head table card, yet today they wanted my name somewhere more valuable, on paper. They didn't need me in the frame. They needed me where it could be used as evidence. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the correction page on the table. One thought came up, short and brutally honest. How long did I stay quiet so they could look good? And the moment I needed to be seen, they wanted me gone. My phone lit up. Mom. Don't do this wrong. Just keep it smooth. I set the phone down. For the first time, keep it smooth sounded like a noose. Paige texted the next morning like nothing happened. Come to Oak and Ivy Coffee and talk. Keep it smooth. Lots of people you won't have to worry. The phrase, lots of people, made my stomach tighten. I shoved my phone deeper into my coat pocket and scanned the tables pressed close together. Oak and Ivy was on Main Street. Wide glass windows, tight tables, everyone holding a to-go cup. Paige was already there, light cream dress, freshly curled hair, her phone face down beside a latte. She smiled warmly, voice soft. I just want you to calm down. Mom's really hurt. Then her eyes flicked toward the window. Outside on the patio, a few tables away, Marlene sat, by coincidence, with a friend, close enough to catch pieces, far enough to play uninvolved. Paige pulled out the chair across from her, polite on the surface. You just need to admit you misunderstood last night. Send an email, like, confirm you didn't mean anything. And that's it. The words "an email" dropped onto the table like a pebble. Not an apology, not peace, just wording. I didn't look at Mom. I didn't look around to see who was watching. I just set my phone on the table, screen off, and asked one specific question. Who put my name into that packet last night? Paige blinked. Her smile held for one beat, then thinned. You're making a big thing again. She reached for the paper in the envelope I'd brought, trying to pull it toward her. I stopped it with one finger. Answer the question. Paige lowered her voice, like a whisper meant to sound reasonable. It's just procedure. If you cooperate, everything stays smooth. You work at a hospital, you get it. Then she leaned in and said what she probably thought was accidental. Hurry up. The board meets this week. My ears went hot. What board? Cumberland wasn't just a banquet hall. Cumberland had committees, funds, closed-door meetings. And that strange line under my name last night. Suddenly it cast a shadow outside the family. Paige saw me go quiet and pushed harder. You just need to email and confirm you don't have any conflict, that's all. If you don't, they'll think you're being difficult, and the trouble will spread to your job. I'm telling you, I'm saving you. She said, saving, but her eyes flicked toward Mom like she was asking for points. I stood up, slid the chair in so gently no one could claim I made noise. I'm not writing anything, I said, flat. I just need to know who used my name. Paige half stood too, her voice jumping up a notch. You always make things hard. Ice clinked in her glass, one sharp clack louder than it needed to be. A few heads at the next table turned. Out on the patio, Marlene's head snapped around like she'd just been pulled into it. Her friend lifted her eyes, too. Paige tilted her phone slightly on the table. Its screen lit for a split second, then went dark. Just enough for someone to see she was recording. I didn't say anything else. I just slid the chair in softly, stood straight, and walked out. Some families don't tie you up with chains. They tie you up with a sentence you wrote yourself. And the question hanging there is, if you don't write it, whose words will they use? I didn't give them one more sentence they could chop up. I just walked out of the cafe, took in one breath of cold air on the sidewalk, and opened my calendar. A civil attorney appointment went on to my lunch break. Then I made another call to the office of an organization tied to Cumberland, asking to speak to the person who keeps the books and asking only one thing. I need to know what file that line under my name belonged to last night and who has the authority to put it there. The call to the Cumberland Linked Foundation office was quick. They asked my name, asked my reason. I didn't tell a family story. I just said I needed to verify a detail in a public record related to status and point of contact. 10 minutes later, an appointment confirmation hit my email with directions to a small meeting room behind the local library. When the door opened, Janice Holloway was already waiting. Silver hair cut neat, reading glasses hanging from her collar. Inside, there was nothing meant to charm anyone. A thick minutes book, a few year-labeled folders, an old stapler. The kind of office that makes you lower your voice the moment you step in. "No drama here," Janice said immediately. "Just minutes." Hearing that, my chest loosened a little. At least this was a place where words had to carry responsibility. I didn't ask to see sealed files. I just set my phone on the table, pulled up the photo of the page from my birthday night, my name in bold and that strange line, then laid down the correction envelope and a printed copy of the old email where Paige asked me to be the contact. I need to know whether this name is in the foundation system and what status it's being attached to. Janice looked for a long time, not rushed at all. Her pencil underlined a phrase in the photo, then she flipped the minutes book to the exact page like she knew it by heart. She slid a section of the public record toward me, a list of temporary points of contact for a team overseeing a community project. My name was there, spelled right, last name right, but the status line beside it was nothing like what Paige had claimed. Not volunteer, a role that would make outsiders assume I was internal. The book shut with a soft thunk. Janice said plainly, "You're not ours, but your name is being used like you are." My neck went cold. It all clicked. They didn't need me at the head table. They needed me in the minutes. They didn't need me in the photo. They needed me in the file, in the exact place they could pull out when they needed a name to take the hit. That's when I knew they don't need me at the party. They need me in the paperwork. Do you want to know what status they attached my name to? Comment, watch. Janice pulled the correction page closer, read it once, then shook her head. Vague wording. Anyone who signs this is tying themselves to a role they don't actually have. Her eyes lifted. Who told you to sign? I'm not signing. Good. Janice's voice stayed dry but firm. She opened her laptop, typed a few keys, and pulled up a meeting schedule. The board meets this week. There's an agenda item tied to that project. She paused. If something breaks, they'll look for a point of contact. And here, someone already picked a name. My heart hit hard once, then settled. This wasn't mother and daughter or sisters anymore. This was paperwork being used to shove someone else under the bus. Janice closed the laptop. I'll alert the board, and I'll recommend an audit. She said it like she was closing a decision. Don't argue with them. Don't send any confirming email. Let the system do its job. I left that meeting room feeling cold but clear. Revenge, right now, wasn't yelling so the whole town could hear. It was placing the first stone in the right spot, then watching the machine tighten on the people who thought they could use someone else's name like a dirty rag. That afternoon, my internal calendar pinged a new meeting. HR and compliance. Official. It was the same small room as before, but the rhythm wasn't questions for the record anymore. I set a one-page timeline on the table. Thin, but rigid. The time at Cumberland, the show me you agree envelope, Paige's post, then the anonymous call. I'm not here to explain myself, I said. I'm here to put this on record. Someone is using my name to build a file. HR flipped to the correction page, stopped at the vague wording, then asked straight, Have you responded yet? No. Why? Because a single word from me right now can be turned into self-admission. The air shifted. Compliance pulled their notebook closer and asked for scans of the email, the envelope, the photo of the birthday night page. HR typed into the system, then issued a written confirmation. There's currently no basis to conclude misconduct, and there is now a record noting the risk of outside harassment/impersonation. That confirmation paper sat in my hand, thin but heavy. At least from now on, rumor couldn't outrun process. When the meeting ended, what they handed back wasn't comfort, it was a written confirmation. No violation at this time, and a documented record of the situation. A thin layer of armor, but the exact kind I needed. At the end, HR issued a written confirmation. I wasn't being disciplined, I wasn't being suspended, and there was now a record noting possible outside harassment/impersonation. A thin layer of armor, but the kind you actually get in this environment. That same night, my appointment with a civil attorney happened over a video call. He listened to my summary, then said bluntly, "From now on, every contact with your family should be in writing. If they call, don't pick up. If they show up, don't say a word without a witness." I nodded, not to get revenge for the thrill of it, but to survive their game without getting dragged into a sentence I might accidentally write. Just like the attorney said, I didn't pick up when Mom called. Paige sent another email template with the line, "Just copy and paste, done." Less than a day into my silence, they switched tactics, showing up at my apartment door. The knocking came fast, then Marlene's voice, deliberately loud so the hallway could hear, "Natalie, open the door, stop playing games." Dad cut in, flat, "Sign it and be done. Don't drag this out." Paige was different. She didn't call out. She spoke right up against the door, like she was talking to an audience. "She's hiding." The door was one step away. My hand touched the lock, then stopped. Outside came the sound of a screen tap. Paige was recording. The door across the hall cracked open a sliver. Paige's phone screen flashed in the hallway. Marlene kept performing for the hallway. "She's doing this to shame the family. Open up and talk like an adult." Dad repeated the same old line, "Don't make a big thing out of it." It would have been funny, because they were the ones making a big thing out of it, right outside someone else's door. I didn't argue through the door. I answered with one short sentence. "Send it to my lawyer." Silence for exactly one beat. Paige pushed immediately, sweet as syrup. "Sis, it's just an email. The board meets this week. What do you want people to think?" The word board hit the exact spot, but my voice stayed flat. "Send it to my lawyer." Dad shoved a paper through the crack under the door like he was delivering an order. "This template, exact wording. Done." Then his voice hardened. "If you don't do it, that's on you." Marlene slapped the door once, hard enough to pressure, not hard enough to break it. "How far are you planning to drag your mother down?" Paige let out a small laugh, the camera still rolling. I didn't bend down to read it. They wanted me stuck to their words. My answer was only one fence. "Send it to my lawyer." And then Marlene changed her tone, cold, clear, aimed straight into the hallway. "If the foundation collapses, it's because of her." That line wasn't for the people inside the apartment. It was for the neighbors. So tomorrow, they'd have a story to tell. When they force you to carry something bigger than family, it's not conflict anymore. It's a setup for blame. And the question is, if the scapegoat won't stand still, who gets dragged out instead? I backed away from the door, my hand shaking just slightly as I unlocked my phone. A text to my attorney. "They're outside my door. They're recording." A text to Janice. "They keep saying the board meets this week. Are you okay?" Janice's reply popped up right after, short and sharp. "The preliminary audit is enough for the board to hold the program, and the Pierce name is already in the chain of items that need explanation." The screen glowed in my palm. Outside the door, Marlene's voice was still going, but this time, what was scarier was the truth that had just surfaced. The system had started tightening, and they weren't going to stop at this door. The call with my attorney happened that same night. He listened to my summary, then said bluntly, "That's not just an insult. They've already cast you in a role." "What role?" I asked, but my throat was already tight. "The one at fault," he said. "They want people to see you as the one who got cut off because you did something wrong. So when the paperwork gets dragged out, the crowd turns to you first. You'll have to explain and defend yourself. And they'll stand behind you, calm, telling the story in the version that benefits them." Janice's text came in, clipped. "Tomorrow morning, 10 minutes, only what's allowed." The next morning, she opened the meeting room door, right on time, no small talk. "I'm not giving you the file," she said. "I'm just showing you one spot, enough for you to understand what they're doing." One page of the audit summary landed on the table. Most lines were blacked out, but the bottom corner still showed a note box. The tip of her pen tapped one line. Primary contact, N. Pierce. My heart dropped for a beat. Right underneath was a strange phone number, not mine, but the name was correct. My head went cold. Not because of the money, not because of the word audit, but because of how they placed my name in the exact spot where anyone opening the file would think, oh, this person is the point of contact. And if hard questions came, the first arrow would fly straight at that name. Janice looked at me without comfort. She only said what needed to be said. They need you to look involved. Then she let out a small breath. They erased your name at the dinner table to keep your name in the file. I went home with a strange feeling, no longer shaking like the last few days, just empty and alert. I opened the nightstand drawer, and my grandmother's necklace was there, a thin chain, a small engraved plate that read, "Keep your name." The day she gave it to me, she only said, "Your name is yours to keep." Back then, I was younger and thought she meant old-fashioned honor. Now I understood. A name can be used like a hook. I set the necklace next to the evidence folder on the table. My throat tightened for a beat, but my back straightened. Not to look strong, just because it was enough. My text to the attorney was one sentence. I'm not asking to go back home. I'm only asking for the truth to land in the right place. No expose post, no live stream, no telling the whole world. If I did that, I'd give them what they wanted. An emotional scene to clip, a story to steer, a person they could label crazy or toxic. What they feared wasn't screaming. What they feared was paperwork moving down the correct lane. And once I understood, they erased my name at the dinner table to stage the scene while keeping my name in the file to pin the contact on me. The choice became simple, in a brutal way. Don't argue. Just submit. Just let the system do the pounding on the table for me. The board's email landed directly in my inbox. Tonight's fundraiser event would be paused pending explanation of the preliminary audit. No more rumors. No more family fighting. This was community money, and the process was required to react. Cumberland that night was bright like a stage. Marlene walked in first, her dress perfect, her smile set to host. Dad walked beside her, nodding like the man in charge. Paige sat in the front row, her tight gown fitted, hands placed neatly on her lap, like she'd rehearsed the moment the lights would hit. I came in after, took a seat in the back by the aisle. I didn't greet anyone. I didn't let them see me. If they saw me, they'd switch the script and turn me into the cause. I wasn't giving them a stage. The MC introduced the Pierce family and invited Marlene up to speak. The mic had barely touched her mouth when she launched into it, smooth and round. Family, values, community. The room nodded along to the familiar rhythm. Right as the mic met her lips, someone on the side stood up fast. A board member, a thin stack of papers in hand. No mic needed. Everyone still heard clearly. Please stop the program. The board needs explanations for several items in the preliminary audit report. If you like the kind of no yelling, just right, tap like. The entire hall froze. Marlene's smile held for half a second longer, then cracked. Dad leaned like he wanted to slip in a misunderstanding. Paige whipped her head around, searching for someone to dump it on. But this time there wasn't a someone. There was only paper. The board member didn't talk long. They read straight from the items. A chain of services routed through an intermediary company, the vendor names, the amounts, the dates. Immediate verification required. Who signed? Who approved? Who is the point of contact? Each question hit like a hammer, fast, cold, no room to perform. Then they read the line, primary contact, in the file, a name that matched mine. A buzz of whispers rose, then died instantly when the board member added, the phone number does not match. We need an explanation for why this name appears as internal status. That sentence pulled every pair of eyes toward the front row, straight to where Marlene, my dad, and Paige were sitting. Dad stood up, trying to drag it back to family reputation. We've always been transparent. The board member cut him off, polite but final. Please answer the question. All statements will be recorded in the minutes. Marlene tried to smile, but her voice came out warped. She scanned the room like she was looking for an exit, then looked down toward the seats like she was searching for a goat to sacrifice. I didn't let her see me. I didn't give Paige a clip of, she showed up to ruin it. I didn't hand them a name to throw into the middle of the room. I just stood up and walked straight out while they were still stuck in the questions. Past the registration table, through the glass doors, leaving pens and paper behind me. Out in the parking lot, cold wind slapped my face. My phone buzzed nonstop. An unknown number, then Paige, then Mom. I didn't open it. My revenge wasn't grabbing the microphone. It was shutting off their microphone, forcing them to answer someone else instead of dragging me into an argument. A few days later, the foundation sent a short notice. The fundraiser program was on hold until the review was complete. The Pierce name was temporarily removed from the representative role, and people in town, the ones who used to laugh it off, started asking hard questions. Nobody could hide a money trail behind family business anymore. If you think this story could help someone who's being told to keep it smooth, share it with them once, maybe they'll hear it at the exact moment they need it. But the feeling of winning didn't arrive like a movie. It came quiet, like a room where the music just shut off. Some relatives texted me the exact same phrase. "You made the family lose face." Some unfollowed. Some avoided me at the grocery store. Some looked at me like I was something uncomfortable because I reminded them of how long they stayed silent. The cost of justice sometimes isn't money. It's the feeling of being unrooted, a blank space no one pats your back and says, "It's okay," into. Marlene kept texting. "You ruined everything?" Dad went silent like he'd never held a microphone. Paige sent a long message, then deleted it right away. I didn't retaliate with words. I set my phone face down on the table, and for the first time in my life, I let myself ask a question I didn't need to answer immediately. Do I need a mother, or do I need peace? From there, the boundary became concrete to the point of cold. Every contact goes through the attorney, everything in writing. Not for revenge, but so I'd never get pulled into the game of who can talk better again. I wasn't running from them. I just wasn't standing in the exact position they'd already built so they could use me as target practice. One night, my grandmother's necklace rested in my palm. Keep your name. Before, I thought, keep your name meant keep the family name, keep the idea of family, keep the dinner table. Now I understood it meant keeping my standing, even if it meant accepting there are gaps no apology can fill. And if you're still watching this far, please understand one small thing. The story is fictional, inspired by real-life situations and human experiences. The video is supported by AI and edited by a person to spark reflection and emotion, not to encourage anyone to copy it. The narrator isn't here to judge right and wrong for you. I only want to hold on to one thing. When you're forced into the role of the one at fault, cling to what can be verified. So no one writes your life for you. If there's a small gift for you, it's this. Staying calm isn't for enduring, it's for choosing the right strike. And I'm Stella. Before we close, let me ask you, where are you listening from, and what time is it where you are right now? Comment and tell me. I always read them. If you've ever been pushed out of the frame just so someone else could save face, you don't have to explain, just leave a dot. If this story touched you, tap like and subscribe. Every click helps stories like this reach the right person who needs to hear it. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one, because sometimes hearing it one more time is all it takes to keep your name in a gentler but firmer way. Thank you for staying to the end.